In this video, we are continuing the practice problems that we began from our Order of Operations Part 1 video. So make sure you have your note sheet and let's get started. Remember, the first thing I want to do during an Order of Operations problem is I want to write PEMDAS as a visual reminder for me of the steps I need to take to solve the problem. So as I'm looking at this problem, I'm looking first for any parentheses. And I do notice that there are some parentheses here. So I need to solve what's inside the parentheses first in my step 1 line. So I see 4 squared minus 5 inside of the parentheses. Well, inside of the parentheses, I have 2 operations. So I'm going to have to look at PEMDAS to see which one I do first. I will always solve exponents before I subtract. So inside the parentheses, PEMDAS still applies. So we're going to solve 4 squared first. 4 squared is the same thing as 4 times 4. And 4 times 4 equals 16. So we know that inside the parentheses we have 3 times 16 minus 5. So that's what's inside our parentheses is the 16 minus 5 minus 12. Now I still have parentheses. I did the exponent inside of the parentheses first. I need to finish solving what's inside of the parentheses before I can move on to anything else. So step 2 of my problem is going to involve me finishing what I began inside of the parentheses. I have to do 16 minus 5. That's the only operation left. 16 minus 5 is 11. So I'm going to write 3 and then an open parentheses, 11, close the parentheses, minus 12. So I have solved what was inside of the parentheses, and I can go ahead and cross out the P because that's done. Now I look at the step 2 line and I say, hey, are there any exponents in the problem? Well, there aren't anymore because they were inside of the parentheses, and because they were inside of the parentheses, I had to go ahead and solve. So I'm done with exponents. Now I'm looking for multiplication and or division. Well, I do notice that there's a 3 right up against a parentheses, and when we have a 3 or any number up against the parentheses with nothing in between, that means multiply. So step 3 is to solve 3 times 11. Well, 3 times 11 is 33, so I'm going to write 33 here, and I'm going to bring down the minus 12 because I've not solved for that yet. Now I'm going to look at my problem that's in step 3 and just make sure that I've eliminated all the multiplication and division signs. And I have. I've solved all the multiplication and division operations in my problem, so I can cross those out. Now I'm looking for addition and or subtraction. And as I look at my problem, I see that I do have a subtraction part. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract. So step 4 is doing the only operation that's left, which is subtracting. 33 minus 12 is 21. And I'm going to go ahead and look just to make sure there are no more operations left. There aren't because 21 is a number. No operations. So I'm done with PEMDAS, and that is my answer. So what I need to do is I need to go back up to the original problem, and after the equal sign, I need to write my number and box it in. So let's look at this one. What's the first thing you have to do to solve this problem? If you said that we want to write PEMDAS up above as a visual reminder, then you are correct. So step 1 is we need to look for anything inside of parentheses or brackets, right? And in this problem, I see both. So what I want to do is I want to address the brackets first. So let's look inside of the bracket. Well, inside of the brackets, I see 100 minus 10 times 2 squared plus 3. And that 2 squared plus 3 is inside the parentheses. So inside of the brackets, I have some parentheses, which means I need to look inside of the parentheses and solve that. So step 1 involves me solving what's inside of the parentheses. As I look inside the parentheses, I see that I have 2 squared, which is an exponent, plus 3. And I have to do exponents before I add because E comes before A in PEMDAS. So I need to solve what 2 squared is. Well, 2 squared is 2 times 2, and that equals 4. So inside my parentheses here, let's just rewrite the problem with what we've done. I have a bracket, 100 minus 10 times 4 plus 3, and then plus 4. So I'm still not done with my brackets. I'm still not done with what's inside the parentheses, but I did get that exponent out of the way, so that's nice. Let's look and see what we need to do next. So I'm going to write step 2. The next thing I need to do is I still need to solve whatever's inside the parentheses or the brackets. So I need to solve this right here, 4 plus 3. Well, I know that's 7, so I'm going to rewrite my problem. 100 minus 10, and then that 7 is still in the parentheses. And then I write the rest of the problem because I have not solved for those things yet. So I look in my step 2 line and I say, am I done with parentheses or brackets yet? No, I'm not. I still have brackets, and inside the brackets I see that I still have stuff going on that I need to solve. So I need to look inside of the brackets. So step 3 is me looking inside of the brackets and saying, well, what do I solve first? I have 100 minus 10 times 7. Well, in PEMDAS, we always multiply or divide before we add. So I have to solve 10 times 7 before I can do anything else inside the brackets. I know that 10 times 7 is 70. So I'm going to write 100 minus 70 and bring everything else down because I have not solved for those things yet. So I'm still inside of my brackets, and I still need to solve what is left inside of the brackets. And so we have step 4. Whatever's inside the brackets, 100 minus 70, well, that's 30. So I have 30 plus 4 left over. Or not left over, but that's what I have now in my step 4 line. So I'm going to look at my step 4 line and say, okay, did I finish with my parentheses? Yeah, I did. That's awesome. So I can go ahead and I can cross that off. I finished with parentheses and brackets. Do I have any exponents in my problem? No, those were inside of the parentheses, which were inside of the brackets, so I had to solve for those already. Do I have any multiplication or division? No, I don't anymore. I did inside of the brackets, but because they were inside of the brackets, I had to solve it first. So I'm done with multiplication and division. Is there any addition or subtraction? Yeah, there is. I have 30 plus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and have one more line where I solve 30 plus 4. And 30 plus 4 gives me 34. So I'm going back up to my original problem, and I'm going to write 34, and I'm going to box it in.